The training hall was huge. Metal walls reached high above and bright lights made everything shine. Hundreds of cadets stood in neat rows, all wearing the same gray uniforms. But they did not look the same. Some were tall, some were short, some had fur, some had scales, some had extra arms or legs. They came from different worlds across the galaxy. Jake Morrison stood very still. He kept his eyes forward and his back straight. He was human, and that made him different here. Humans were new to this place. They had only joined the Galactic Unity 20 years ago. Many of the other species thought humans were weak. They thought humans were too soft, too slow, too fragile. Jake had heard the whispers. He had seen the looks. Some of the alien cadets laughed when they saw humans training. Others just shook their heads like they were watching something sad. The academy was supposed to train the best officers in the galaxy. Many aliens thought humans did not belong here. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. Everyone got even more still. General Vexthor was coming. Jake had heard stories about this general. Everyone had. The general was from a species called Krallians. He was huge, almost 9 feet tall. He had 4 thick arms covered in natural armor plates. His skin looked like dark red leather mixed with stone. When he opened his mouth, you could see rows of sharp teeth. General Vexthor walked slowly down the line of cadets. His yellow eyes looked at each one. When he passed the bigger aliens, he nodded. When he passed the smaller ones, he made a low growling sound. It was not a nice sound. It was the sound a predator makes before it attacks. The general stopped right in front of Jake. Jake could smell something bad like rotten eggs mixed with smoke. That was the general's breath. The general bent down, bringing his massive head close to Jake's face. Jake kept looking straight ahead, but his heart was beating fast. "You," the general said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Human. Tell me your name." Jake took a breath. "Cadet Jake Morrison, sir, Morrison," the general repeated. He said it slowly, like the name tasted bad. "Tell me something, Morrison. Do you think your kind belongs here? Do you think your soft human body can survive in this galaxy?" Jake wanted to say many things. He wanted to talk about all the times humans had proven themselves. He wanted to mention the human scientists who had helped create new technologies. He wanted to talk about human diplomats who had made peace between warring species. But he knew the general did not want to hear any of that. "Sir, every species has different strengths. Together we make the unity stronger." The general made a loud barking sound. It took Jake a moment to realize the general was laughing. Diplomatic words. That is so human. You hide behind pretty words because you know you are weak. "Tell me, Morrison, what happens when words are not enough? What happens when you face a real enemy?" Jake felt his hands ball into fists at his sides. He forced them to relax. "Do not react," he told himself. "Do not give him what he wants." The general started walking in a circle around Jake. His clawed feet clicked on the metal floor. "Out in space there are no diplomats. There are no peace talks. There is only survival. The strong live. The weak die. And humans, Morrison, are very weak." Other cadets were watching now. Jake could feel their eyes on him. Some of them probably agreed with the general. Others might feel sorry for him. Either way, everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. "I have fought in 12 wars," the general continued, still circling. "I have seen species that could crush you with one hand. I have seen creatures that could tear apart a human in seconds. And you want to be an officer? You want to lead soldiers into battle?" Jake kept his voice calm. "Yes, sir. That is why I am here." The general stopped right behind Jake. Jake could feel hot breath on the back of his neck. "Why would anyone follow you? Why would any real warrior take orders from a creature who breaks so easily?" Something inside Jake started to burn. It was not fear. It was anger. But he pushed it down. He had trained for this. He knew some instructors would try to break the cadets, would try to make them quit. He just had to stay strong. The general moved back to face Jake again. He leaned down until his face was only inches away. "I think you are wasting everyone's time here, human. I think you should go back to your safe little world and leave the real fighting to real warriors." Jake made a choice in that moment. He could stay quiet and take the abuse. That was probably the smart thing to do. But something in him refused. He had worked too hard to get here. He had trained for years. He had passed every test. He deserved to be here just as much as anyone else. Jake looked directly into the general's yellow eyes. Most cadets never did that. It was seen as a challenge. "With respect, sir, I believe actions matter more than words. If you doubt what humans can do, then test us. We will prove our worth. The training hall went completely silent. Several alien cadets made shocked sounds. No one talked to General Vexthor like that. No one challenged him. The general was famous. He was a hero. He had powerful friends. Cadets who made him angry tended to disappear from the academy. For a moment, nothing happened. The general just stared at Jake. His yellow eyes went very wide, then very narrow. Something changed in his expression. The look that said he was testing Jake was gone. Now there was only anger. It happened so fast that Jake barely saw it coming. One of the general's huge arms swung out. His hand, big as a dinner plate and covered in hard scales, hit Jake across the face. The impact felt like being hit by a vehicle. Jake's head snapped to the side. His feet left the ground. He flew several feet through the air before crashing down on the hard metal floor. Pain exploded through Jake's head. He could taste blood in his mouth. His vision went blurry. Everything sounded far away and muffled. Through the haze, he heard the general speaking to the other cadets. That is what happens when you forget your place. Let this human be a lesson to all of you. In this academy, you will learn respect. You will learn discipline, or you will learn pain. Jake lay on the cold floor. His face felt like it was on fire. Blood dripped from his nose and lips. He could hear the general's footsteps moving away, going to inspect the other cadets. The general probably thought Jake was done. He probably thought the human would just lie there, humiliated and broken. But something was happening inside Jake's body. Something the general did not understand about humans. When humans face danger, when they face a threat, their bodies change. A chemical called adrenaline floods through them. Their hearts beat faster. Their muscles get stronger. Their pain goes away, and they have to make a choice. Run away or fight back. Jake had never been good at running away. His vision started to clear. His hearing came back. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest fast and hard. Every muscle in his body felt tight and ready. The pain in his face was still there, but it seemed distant now, like it was happening to someone else. 3 seconds had passed since the general hit him. In 3 more seconds, everything was going to change. Jake pushed himself up from the floor. His body moved fast, faster than he had ever moved before. The adrenaline made him quick. The adrenaline made him strong. His brain was focused on only one thing. The general had hurt him. The general was a threat. The threat needed to be stopped. General Vexthor had his back turned. He was walking toward the next row of cadets. He thought the fight was over. He thought the human was finished. That was his first mistake. Jake ran. His feet barely made a sound on the metal floor. Years of training took over. He had studied all the different alien species at the academy. He had learned where each one was strong. He had learned where each one was weak. The Krallians were powerful. They had thick armor on most of their bodies. But there were soft spots. There were places where even a human could hurt them. Jake jumped. He launched himself at the general's back. His hands reached for the general's neck. There, just behind the jaw plates, was soft tissue. That was where blood vessels ran close to the surface. That was where nerves were not protected by armor. Jake's thumbs dug into those soft spots. He pressed hard. The general made a choking sound, surprised and hurt. The general's forearms came up trying to grab Jake, but Jake had already moved. He wrapped his legs around the general's thick neck. He squeezed. Now the general was really trying to fight back. His massive hands grabbed at Jake's arms and legs. He was strong, much stronger than Jake. One of his hands caught Jake's uniform. He pulled hard, but Jake held on. He had to hold on. If he let go now, the general would tear him apart. The general tried to shake Jake off. He spun around fast. Jake's body whipped through the air, but his grip did not break. The general backed up hard and fast, slamming Jake into a wall. Pain shot through Jake's back and shoulders, but the adrenaline pushed the pain away. He squeezed harder. All around them, cadets were watching. No one moved. No one made a sound. This was impossible. A human, the weakest species at the academy, was fighting a Krallian general. And the human was winning. The general's movements started to slow down. He stumbled. His forearms were still trying to pull Jake off, but they were weaker now. Jake's hold was cutting off blood to the general's brain. Without that blood, even the mighty Vexthor would fall. The general dropped to one knee, then the other knee. He was kneeling now, this great warrior, this decorated hero. His hands reached up one more time, but they just hung there, weak and trembling. Then the general spoke. His voice came out quiet and rough. "Please." That one word echoed through the hall. Please. The general was begging. General Vexthor, who had fought in 12 wars, who had defeated armies, who had made entire species surrender, was begging a human cadet to stop. "Please," the general said again. His voice was barely a whisper. "Stop." Jake held on for one more second. He wanted to make sure the general understood. He wanted to make sure the general would remember this moment. Then he let go. He unwrapped his legs and dropped to the floor behind the general. General Vexthor collapsed. He fell forward onto his face. His forearms spread out on the floor. He was gasping, trying to pull air into his lungs. Dark purple blood dripped from the spots where Jake's thumbs had dug into his neck. Jake stood there, breathing hard. His heart was still racing. His hands were shaking. Blood from his own face dripped onto his uniform. Now that the fight was over, the pain was coming back. His face hurt. His back hurt where he had been slammed into the wall. His hands hurt from gripping so hard, but he was standing, and the general was on the ground. Jake looked around at the other cadets. He expected to see anger. He expected them to rush forward and grab him. What he had done was against every rule. You did not attack an officer. You did not fight a superior. This was probably the end of his career. This was probably the end of everything, but that was not what he saw in their faces. The Thoraxian cadets, big insect creatures with sharp claws, were clicking their mouths together. Jake had learned that was how they showed respect. The Zanari warriors, tall and slim with silver skin, had their hands over their hearts. That was their way of honoring someone brave. Even the Krallian cadets were not looking at Jake with anger. They were looking at their general with something else. Disappointment, maybe, or shame. Their great general had just been beaten by a human. Their great general had begged for mercy. A sound broke the silence. Slow clapping. Everyone looked up. On the observation deck above the training hall, a figure stood. It was Commandant Zora. She was the one in charge of the entire academy. She had silver fur and 8 eyes. She was from a species called Lirani. They were known for being wise and fair. Commandant Zora walked down the stairs. Her 8 eyes were all focused on the scene below. She looked at the general, still gasping on the floor. She looked at Jake, standing over him with blood on his face. She looked at all the other cadets, frozen and watching. General Vexthor, her voice was not loud, but everyone could hear it clearly. "You will report to my office immediately. Once you have recovered yourself." The way she said it made it clear what she thought. The general had embarrassed himself. He had lost control. He had been beaten, and everyone knew it. The commandant turned to Jake, Cadet Morrison. "You will also report to my office. In 1 hour. First, you will go to the medical bay. Get your injuries treated." "Yes, ma'am," Jake managed to say. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. 2 security officers appeared. They were big aliens in black uniforms. They moved to stand on either side of Jake. They were not rough, but it was clear. Jake was under guard now. They would make sure he went where he was supposed to go. As they started to walk toward the exit, Commandant Zora spoke again. This time she was talking to all the cadets. "Let today be a lesson. Strength is not only about size or power. Strength is also about will. It is about courage. It is about refusing to accept injustice, even when the cost is high." She paused and looked directly at where the general was being helped up by medical staff. "And let this also be a lesson. In this academy, in this unity, we do not abuse those weaker than us. We do not use our power to hurt and humiliate. Those who forget this will face consequences. All of you are dismissed." The cadets started to move and talk. Their voices grew louder. Jake could hear the excitement, the shock, the disbelief. What just happened would be talked about for a long time, maybe for years. The security officers led Jake out of the training hall. The doors closed behind them, cutting off the noise. They walked through empty corridors. Jake's legs felt weak now. The adrenaline was wearing off. The reality of what he had done was starting to sink in. He had attacked a general. He had choked him until he begged. That was not just against the rules. That could be a crime. He might not just get kicked out of the academy. He might go to prison. His whole life might be over. But another thought pushed through the fear. The general had hit him first. The general had been abusing cadets for years. Someone had to stand up to him. Someone had to show that it was not okay. Jake touched his face gently. It was swelling up. He could feel it getting bigger and tighter. His nose might be broken. His lip was definitely split. He would look terrible for days, but he had won. Somehow, against all odds, he had won. A human had defeated a Kralian general. A small, weak, fragile human had made a mighty warrior beg for mercy. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humans. They were about to learn that size did not matter as much as they thought. They were about to learn that humans did not give up. They were about to learn that when you pushed a human too far, they pushed back. And they pushed back hard. The medical bay smelled clean. It smelled like chemicals and medicine. Bright white lights shone everywhere. Strange machines beeped and hummed. Dr. Senna was waiting when the security officers brought Jake in. She was Lyrani like the commandant. She had silver fur and 8 eyes, but she also had 6 thin arms that could move very quickly and carefully. "Sit," she said, pointing to a tall table. Jake climbed up and sat down. His whole body ached now. The adrenaline was gone. All the pain that had been pushed away was coming back. His face throbbed. His back screamed where he had been slammed into the wall. His hands were stiff and swollen. Dr. Senna's many arms moved over Jake, scanning him with different devices. Her 8 eyes looked at screens that showed pictures of his bones and organs. She made small clicking sounds with her mouth. Jake guessed that meant she was thinking. "Your nose is broken," she said. "But not badly. I can fix it. Your lip needs sealing. You have bruising on your face, back, and shoulders. But nothing is damaged inside. You will heal quickly." She started working. One arm held a device that felt cold against Jake's nose. There was a crunching sound and a sharp pain. Jake tried not to cry out. Then the pain faded to a dull ache. Another arm used a small tool on his lip. It felt like a tiny burning sensation, then nothing. The split was sealed shut. "Humans have good bodies for healing," Dr. Senna said as she worked. "Better than many species. Your bones are not as strong as Kralian bones, but they heal faster. Your skin repairs itself quickly. In a few days you will look almost normal." She paused and 2 of her eyes looked right at Jake. "I saw what happened. The whole thing was recorded. All training sessions are recorded." Jake's stomach dropped. Of course it was recorded. That meant there was proof. Video proof that he had attacked a general. That would make everything worse. "I also treated the general," Dr. Senna continued. "He is hurt worse than you. You crushed the soft tissue in his neck. You damaged the cartilage. He will not be able to speak normally for days. He will not be able to train for weeks." Jake did not know what to say. He had not meant to hurt the general that badly. He had just wanted to stop him. He had just wanted to protect himself. But hearing how much damage he had done made it real, made it serious. "I did not mean to hurt him so much," Jake said quietly. "He hit me. I just reacted. I was defending myself." Dr. Senna made a soft humming sound. "I know, everyone knows. The general struck you first. That is against every rule we have. What you did after that was instinct, human instinct." She finished treating Jake and stepped back. "You are cleared. You can go. But rest today. Your body needs it." "Thank you, doctor." The security officers were waiting outside. They walked with Jake through the corridors of the academy. Other cadets were everywhere now. Training had ended for the day. When cadets saw Jake, they stopped and stared. Word had spread fast. Everyone knew what happened. Some cadets nodded at Jake as he passed. Some smiled. A few even saluted, which was strange because Jake was just a cadet like them, but many others looked afraid. Jake understood. If a human could do that to a general, what else might humans be capable of? A human cadet ran up to them. She had short brown hair and determined eyes. Her name was Lisa Grant. Jake had seen her around but never really talked to her. She was a second-year student, which meant she had been at the academy longer than Jake. "Jake Morrison," she said, falling into step beside them. The security officers did not stop her. "You are famous now. Everyone is talking about you. Every human in this academy is talking about you." "Famous for attacking an officer," Jake said. "That is not good." "Famous for standing up to a bully," Lisa corrected him. "Do you know how many cadets General Vexthor has hurt? Do you know how many students have quit because of him? Dozens, maybe hundreds over the years. He has been doing this for a long time." Everyone knew, but no one could stop him. Why not? Jake asked. "Because he is a war hero. Because he has powerful friends. Because the people in charge were afraid to act against him." Lisa's voice was angry. "So he kept doing it. He kept hurting people. Mostly he hurt the smaller species, the weaker ones, the ones who could not fight back. She looked at Jake with respect in her eyes. Until today. Today someone finally fought back. And everyone saw it. Everyone saw a human stand up to the great General Vexthor. Everyone saw him fall. Everyone heard him beg. I might get kicked out for this, Jake said. I might go to prison, maybe, Lisa nodded. But maybe not. The commandant seemed angry at the general, not at you. And everyone saw the video. Everyone knows he hit you first. That has to count for something. They reached the commandant's office. The security officers stopped outside the big doors. Lisa squeezed Jake's shoulder quickly. Whatever happens, you did something important today. You showed everyone that humans are not weak, that we will not be pushed around. That matters. Remember that. Then she walked away. Jake stood there looking at the closed doors. Behind those doors was Commandant Zora. She would decide what happened next. She would decide if Jake's career ended today or if he got another chance. One of the security officers pressed a button on the wall. A voice came through a speaker. Yes? Cadet Morrison is here, ma'am, the officer said. Send him in. The doors opened. Jake walked through alone. The security officer stayed outside. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. The office was beautiful. The walls were not metal like the rest of the station. They looked like they were made of clear glass or crystal. Through them, Jake could see space. Real space. Stars everywhere shining in the darkness. The planet they orbited was visible too, blue and green and white, hanging there like a jewel. Commandant Zora sat behind a desk. The desk looked like it was carved from a single huge piece of crystal. It caught the light from the stars and split it into rainbows. The commandant's silver fur seemed to glow. Her 8 eyes were all focused on Jake. Sit, she said, gesturing to a chair. Jake sat. He kept his back straight and his hands on his knees. He tried to look calm. Inside, his heart was pounding. This was it. This was the moment when he would learn his fate. Do you understand what you have done? The commandant asked. Her voice was not angry. It was not kind either. It was neutral, like she was asking a simple question. Yes, ma'am. I attacked a superior officer. That is against regulations. It is grounds for expulsion and criminal charges, correct? The commandant leaned back in her chair. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Jake thought carefully. He could make excuses. He could talk about how the general hit him first. He could mention all the other cadets the general had hurt. But he decided to be honest. I reacted on instinct, ma'am. When the general hit me, something in my brain took over. My body responded to a threat. I did not plan to hurt him. I did not want to hurt him. But in that moment, I was not thinking. I was just reacting. He paused, then added, but I am not sorry I fought back. He had no right to hit me. No one should have to accept that kind of treatment. If I could go back, I might do it differently. But I would still fight back. The commandant's 8 eyes studied him for a long moment. Then to Jake's surprise, she smiled. It was a small smile, but it was there. That is the most honest answer I have heard all day. She stood and walked to the crystal wall, looking out at the stars. I have reviewed the footage. I have also reviewed General Vexthor's record here at the Academy. It makes for disturbing reading. She turned back to face Jake. The general has been reported 12 times in the past 5 years for abusive conduct. All 12 complaints were dismissed. Do you know why? Jake shook his head. Politics. Fear. Convenience. The commandant's voice was bitter. He is a war hero. He has friends in high places. And the Academy Council did not want the trouble that would come from punishing him, so they looked the other way. They let him continue. She walked back to her desk. Until today. Today you forced everyone to look. You forced everyone to see what he really is. A bully, an abuser, someone who uses his power to hurt those weaker than himself. The commandant sat down again. What you did was wrong, Cadet Morrison. You broke serious rules, but you also exposed a greater wrong. One that should have been dealt with long ago. What happens now, ma'am? Jake asked quietly. Now the commandant said we deal with both problems. Commandant Zora touched a control on her desk. The crystal walls changed. Now they showed different images. Jake recognized them. They were recordings from the training hall. Videos from different days, different training sessions. In the first video, General Vexthor was yelling at a small alien cadet. The cadet looked terrified. Then the general hit the cadet across the face. The cadet fell down. The general laughed and walked away. The next video showed the general kicking a cadet who had fallen during an exercise. The cadet curled up in pain. Other cadets watched but did nothing. They were too afraid. Video after video played. In all of them, General Vexthor was hurting someone. Always someone smaller. Always someone who could not fight back. The pattern was clear. The general was a bully. He enjoyed causing pain. This is just a small sample, Commandant Zora said. There are hours of footage like this. Years of it. And these are only the incidents that were recorded during official training. How many more happened in private? How many cadets suffered with no one watching? She turned off the display. The crystal walls went back to showing stars. Why was this allowed to continue? Jake asked. Because I only became Commandant 6 months ago, Zora said. My predecessor was old and tired. He ignored problems. He took the easy path. When I arrived and started reviewing records, I was shocked. I began building a case against the general. But it was difficult. His political connections are strong. I needed clear evidence, undeniable evidence. She looked at Jake. You gave me that evidence. Not just the video of him hitting you. That alone might not be enough. But your response, that changed everything. You showed that he is not invincible. You showed that he can be defeated. That matters more than you know. I do not understand, Jake said. Power, the Commandant explained, is often about perception. People believed General Vexthor was untouchable. They believed he was too strong, too important, too well connected. So they did nothing. But you touched him. You brought him to his knees. You made him beg. Now everyone sees he is just a person who can face consequences. So what happens to him? Jake asked. He will be removed from this academy immediately. He will face a formal inquiry into his conduct. With all the evidence I have gathered and with what happened today, his career is finished. He may even face criminal charges. Jake felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that the general would not hurt anyone else. But also guilt. He had ended someone's career. Even if that person was cruel, it still felt heavy. Do not feel bad for him, Commandant Zora said, as if reading Jake's thoughts. He made his choices. He chose to abuse his power. He chose to hurt those under his command. Now he faces the results of those choices. You are not responsible for his actions. He is, and what happens to me? Jake asked the question he had been dreading. The Commandant was quiet for a moment. Normally what you did would result in expulsion at minimum, possibly criminal charges for assaulting an officer. The rules are clear. Jake's heart sank. Here it came, the end of everything he had worked for. However, Zora continued, there are special circumstances. First, the general struck you without cause. That was assault. You were defending yourself. Second, your response, while extreme, showed remarkable skill and tactical thinking. You identified a weakness in a superior opponent and exploited it perfectly. That is exactly what we train officers to do. She stood and walked to the window again. The galactic unity needs officers who can think fast, officers who can adapt, officers who will stand up for what is right even when it is dangerous. You demonstrated all of these qualities today. So I am not expelled? Jake could barely believe it. You are not expelled, but this incident will be noted in your permanent record. You will also be required to take additional classes in conflict management and proper reporting procedures. We cannot have cadets attacking officers even when they have good reasons. Yes, ma'am. I understand. Jake felt like he could breathe again. But understand this, Cadet Morrison. The Commandant turned to face him, all 8 eyes serious. What happened today is bigger than just you and the general. It has become political. The Krallian government is angry. They are demanding your punishment. Several member worlds are using this incident to question whether humans should be in the Unity military at all. That surprised Jake. Why would they question all humans because of what I did? Because people fear what they do not understand. Humans are new to the Unity. Many species still see you as weak and primitive. What you did today challenged that view. You proved that humans can be dangerous. Some people find that threatening. The Commandant sat back down. You have become a symbol, whether you wanted to or not. To some, you are a hero who stood up to injustice. To others, you are a dangerous threat. From now on, everything you do will be watched. Every test, every training exercise, every interaction with other cadets. People will be looking for reasons to prove humans do not belong here. That is a lot of pressure, Jake said quietly. Yes, it is. Are you strong enough to handle it? Jake thought about it. He could say yes immediately, try to sound confident. But the Commandant deserved honesty. I do not know, he admitted. But I will try. I will work harder than ever. I will prove that I deserve to be here. That is all anyone can ask. Zora's expression softened slightly. I will tell you something, Morrison. I have been an officer for 30 years. I have commanded ships. I have led troops in combat. I have seen many species, many cultures, many different kinds of warriors. She paused. Humans have something special. You are not the strongest. You are not the fastest. You do not have natural armor or weapons, but you have something that matters more. You do not give up. When you are knocked down, you get back up. When something seems impossible, you find a way. That quality, that refusal to quit, that is what makes great officers. Thank you, ma'am. Do not thank me. Prove me right. Show everyone that my faith in you is justified. The commandant stood, indicating the meeting was over. You are dismissed. Return to your quarters. Rest. Training resumes tomorrow, and it will not be easy. Many people will want to test you now, to see if today was luck or skill. Jake stood and saluted. I will be ready, ma'am. As he turned to leave, Commandant Zora spoke one more time. Morrison, one more thing. What you did today, standing up to the general, that took courage. But remember, fighting should always be a last resort. The best officers know when to fight and when to find other solutions. Work on that balance, I will, ma'am. Jake walked out of the office. The security officers were waiting, but now they just nodded at him. They did not grab him or guard him closely. They simply walked with him back toward the cadet quarters, more like escorts than guards. As they walked, Jake saw more cadets in the corridors. Word must have spread about the meeting with the commandant. When cadets saw Jake was not in trouble, that he was not being arrested, reactions were mixed. Some smiled and nodded. Others looked worried or angry. One large alien, a Krallian like the general, stepped in front of Jake. The security officers moved to intervene, but the Krallian held up his hands peacefully. He looked at Jake for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed his head slightly. You have honor, human, the Krallian said. His voice was deep and respectful. What you did today was just, General Vexthor brought shame to our species. You reminded him that power without honor is nothing. For that I thank you. Then the Krallian walked away. Jake stood there surprised. He had expected all Krallians to hate him after what he did, but this one had thanked him. Maybe things were more complicated than he thought. The security officers led Jake to his quarters. It was a small room with a bed, a desk, and a window that showed stars. Simple but comfortable. When Jake entered, he saw messages waiting on his communication device. Dozens of them, from other human cadets, from his family back on Earth, from people he did not even know. Most of the messages were supportive, proud, excited, but some were worried. Some warned him to be careful. Some said he had made powerful enemies. Jake sat on his bed. His body ached. His face still hurt. He was exhausted. But he was also relieved. He was still here. He still had a chance to achieve his dream of becoming an officer. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. His family probably knew what happened by now. The news had likely spread across human space. He wondered what they were thinking. Were they proud? Worried, both? Jake laid back on the bed. Tomorrow, training would start again. People would be watching him, testing him, trying to see if he was really as capable as he seemed today. He would have to prove himself over and over again. But tonight he would rest. He had survived. He had faced a terrible situation and come through it. That was enough for now. 6 months had passed. The academy was the same, but also different. The corridors still gleamed with metal and lights. Cadets still trained hard every day. Ships still came and went, bringing supplies and visitors. But something in the atmosphere had changed. Something in how cadets treated each other was better. Jake Morrison walked through the training hall. Other cadets nodded at him as he passed. Some greeted him by name. A few months ago, most aliens had barely noticed the human cadets. Now they saw them. They respected them. That change had started on the day Jake fought General Vexthor. But respect brought pressure too. Every test Jake took was watched closely. Every training exercise was analyzed. When he did well, people said it proved humans belonged here. When he made mistakes, people said it proved humans were not ready. The weight of representing his entire species was heavy. Jake had worked harder than ever before. He studied late into the night. He trained until his muscles burned. He learned everything he could about tactics, strategy, leadership, and the different alien species in the Unity. He could not afford to fail. Too many people were watching. Too many people were counting on him. Today was important. It was the final combat exercise of the semester. All cadets were divided into mixed teams. Each team had to complete a difficult mission. The best team would receive high honors. The worst would face additional training. For Jake, anything less than excellence would be seen as failure. His team gathered in the briefing room. Lisa Grant was there, the human cadet who had supported him after the incident. She had become a good friend over the past months. She smiled at Jake when he entered. "Ready for this?" "As ready as I can be," Jake replied. Also on the team was Crix, a Thoraxian. His species looked like huge insects with hard shells and multiple limbs. Crix was strong and fast, but he had learned to trust Jake's tactical thinking. They had trained together many times. The fourth team member was Sella, a Zanari warrior. Her species was tall and graceful, with silver skin and enhanced senses. Zanari had once looked down on humans. But Sella had changed her mind after training with Jake. She now believed humans brought valuable skills to the Unity. Commandant Zora appeared on the large screen at the front of the room. "Good morning, cadets. Your mission today is a hostage rescue scenario. You will be inserted into a simulated asteroid mining facility. 3 hostages from different species are being held. An unknown number of hostiles control the facility. The structure is unstable and could depressurize at any moment." She paused to let that sink in. "You must rescue all hostages without casualties. You must neutralize the threats. You must maintain structural integrity. You have 1 hour. Begin planning." The screen went dark. Jake looked at his team. "Ideas?" "We go in hard and fast," Crick suggested. His voice clicked and buzzed. "My armor can take damage. I breach the doors. We sweep through quickly." "That might work in a stable structure," Sella said. "But the briefing said it is unstable. Too much force could cause a collapse." "We need to be careful. What about the hostages?" Lisa asked. 3 different species means 3 different needs. Some might need special atmosphere. Some might be injured. We have to be ready for anything," Jake thought quickly. "You are all right. We need to balance speed with caution. We need strength but also precision. Here is what I think we should do." He outlined a plan. Sella would scout ahead using her enhanced senses. She could detect enemies through walls. Crix would handle any heavy obstacles, but only when necessary. Lisa would manage the hostages, assessing their needs and coordinating their evacuation. Jake would command and adapt the plan as situations changed. Everyone agreed. They moved to the simulation pods. These were advanced machines that created realistic scenarios. Everything felt real inside. The danger felt real. The only difference was that no one actually got hurt if they failed. The simulation began. Jake and his team appeared inside a dark corridor. The air smelled like metal and chemicals. Red emergency lights flashed. In the distance, they could hear strange sounds. Footsteps, voices, equipment humming. "Sella, scout ahead," Jake said quietly. "Everyone else stay alert." Sella moved forward, silent as a shadow. Her enhanced senses reached out, detecting heat signatures and movement through the walls. After a moment, she reported back. 4 hostiles, 2 corridors ahead. They are guarding a door. I detect 3 life signs behind the door. "That must be the hostages. Can we go around?" Jake asked. "There is another path," Sella confirmed, "but it goes through a section marked as structurally compromised. It could collapse." Jake made a decision. "We take the direct route. Crix, can you handle 4 hostiles quietly?" The Thoraxian's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "Yes, I can do quiet." They moved forward carefully. When they reached the corner before the hostiles, Crix moved fast. He flowed around the corner like liquid despite his size. There were brief sounds of struggle, then silence. Crix returned. "Done." They did not even have time to sound an alarm. "Good work." Jake led the team forward. The door to the hostage room was locked. Crix's strength opened it easily. Inside were 3 aliens tied up and scared. One was a small furry creature that needed cold temperatures. One was a large reptilian that breathed methane. One was amphibious and needed moisture. Lisa immediately went to work. She checked each hostage, assessed their conditions, and started organizing their evacuation. "This one needs a cold pack. This one needs a breather mask. This one is dehydrated and needs water." Jake coordinated with Lisa while keeping watch. Sela scouted further ahead, finding the best route out. Crick stood guard, ready to fight if more enemies appeared. The team worked together smoothly, each person doing their part. But then a problem appeared. The whole structure shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A loud groaning sound echoed through the corridors. The instability was worse than expected. They needed to move fast. Structural collapse imminent, a computer voice announced. Evacuate immediately, time to go, Jake said. Everyone moved, they ran. Lisa helped the hostages who could not move fast on their own. Crix carried the large methane breather, who was too weak to walk. Sela guided them through the safest route. Jake brought up the rear, making sure no one was left behind. Behind them, sections of the facility were collapsing. Walls crumbled. Ceilings fell. The groaning sound got louder and louder. They had to reach the evacuation point before the whole structure came down. There were more hostiles between them and safety, but there was no time for careful tactics now. They had to punch through. Crix charged forward, his armored body smashing through opposition. Sela fought with graceful precision. Lisa protected the hostages. Jake coordinated everything, calling out targets and directions. They reached the evacuation point with seconds to spare. They loaded the hostages into the escape pod and launched. Behind them, the entire facility collapsed in on itself. But they were safe. All team members survived. All hostages rescued. Mission complete, the simulation ended. Jake and his team stepped out of the pods. They were breathing hard. Even though it was not real, the stress had felt real. The danger had felt real. They had given everything they had. Commandant Zora was waiting. She had watched everything. Her 8 eyes studied each team member. Then she nodded slowly. Excellent work. You completed the mission with minimal time and 0 casualties. Your coordination was exceptional. Your adaptability under pressure was exactly what we look for in officers. She looked at Jake. Cadet Morrison, your leadership was sound. You used each team member's strengths effectively. You made good decisions under extreme pressure. Well done. Thank you, ma'am, Jake said. But it was a team effort. Everyone contributed. True, Zora agreed. But every team needs someone to coordinate them. Someone to make the hard choices. Someone to take responsibility. You did that well. After the Commandant left, Jake's team celebrated quietly. They had done it. They had proven themselves. Crix lifted Jake up on his shoulders again like he had done before. Sela performed a warrior salute. Lisa just grinned proudly. Other teams were finishing their simulations. Some had done well. Some had failed. But everyone was talking about Jake's team. About how smoothly they had worked together. About how a human had led a mixed species team to success. As Jake and his team left the training area, they saw someone waiting. It was Commander Tal, a Krallian officer. He had been appointed to replace General Vexthor as the chief combat instructor. Many cadets had been nervous about having another Krallian in charge. But Commander Tal was different. He was fair. He was respectful. He treated all species equally. Cadet Morrison, Commander Tal said. His voice was deep but not threatening. May I speak with you? Of course, sir, Jake said. The commander gestured for them to walk. I watched your exercise today. Your leadership was impressive. But I wanted to talk about something else. Something more important. What is that, sir? 6 months ago, you did something that changed this academy. You stood up to injustice. You fought back when you were wronged. That took great courage, the commander paused. My species, the Krallians, we have been proud for too long. We believed our strength made us superior. We looked down on others. General Vexthor was not the only one with this attitude. Many of us shared it. He looked directly at Jake. You taught us that we were wrong. Strength alone does not make a warrior. Character makes a warrior. Courage makes a warrior. The months continued to pass. Jake Morrison's life at the academy became both easier and harder. Easier because other cadets now treated him with respect. Harder because the expectations never stopped. Every day someone was watching. Every day someone wanted to see if he would fail or succeed. But Jake was not alone in this. Other human cadets were also working hard. They were also proving themselves. Lisa Grant had become one of the top tactical students. Another human, a cadet named Ben Cooper, had scored the highest marks in engineering. A third human, Kate Hughes, had won the hand-to-hand combat tournament, defeating aliens twice her size. The change was not just about individual achievements. It was about how humans were seen. 6 months ago, they were considered weak and fragile. Now they were recognized as adaptable and determined. Their physical limitations were still real, but people understood those limitations did not define them. Jake sat in the academy cafeteria with his team. They had become close friends over the past months. Crix was teaching Jake about Thoraxian philosophy. Sella was learning human history from Lisa. They shared meals together. They studied together. They had become more than just a team. They had become family. "I received a message from home today," Crix said, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "My parents saw recordings of our exercises. They were impressed by how we worked together. They said it reminded them of the old stories. Stories about how different species can accomplish more together than alone. That is what the unity is supposed to be about," Lisa said. "Not one species dominating others, but all species contributing what they do best," Sella nodded. "My people used to think we were better than most others. We have enhanced senses. We are fast and precise. We thought that made us superior. But training with you all taught me that everyone has unique strengths. Jake's tactical thinking, Lisa's medical knowledge, Crix's strength and wisdom. These things are just as valuable as my senses." Jake listened to his friends talk. He thought about how much had changed. Not just for him, but for everyone. The incident with General Vexthor had been a spark. It had started a fire of change that was still burning. News had spread beyond the academy, too. Throughout human space, people were talking about Jake and what he had done. He had received messages from Earth, from his parents, who were proud but worried. From his old teachers, who said they always knew he would do great things. From strangers who called him a hero. But Jake did not feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had been pushed too far and pushed back. Someone who had been lucky to survive. Someone who was now trying to live up to impossible expectations. "Do you ever wish it had not happened?" Lisa asked quietly, as if reading his thoughts. "Do you ever wish you could just be a normal cadet?" Jake considered the question. Sometimes it would be easier to just blend in, to not have everyone watching all the time. But then I think about all the cadets who quit because of General Vexthor. All the people he hurt. If what I did helped stop that, then it was worth it. "You did more than stop one general," Crix said. "You changed how people think." "That is much bigger." Before Jake could respond, the cafeteria went quiet. Everyone turned to look at the entrance. Commandant Zora had entered, along with several other high-ranking officers. This was unusual. Officers rarely came to the cadet cafeteria. "Attention," Commandant Zora's voice carried across the room. "I have an announcement. As you know, graduation ceremonies are approaching. This year, we have decided to recognize exceptional achievement with a special honor. The Unity Star for Outstanding Leadership will be awarded to one cadet who has demonstrated courage, skill, and the ability to inspire others." She paused. "After careful consideration and review of all candidates, this year's Unity Star will be awarded to Cadet Jake Morrison." The cafeteria erupted. Some cadets cheered. Some applauded. Some just looked stunned. Jake sat frozen, unable to process what he had just heard. The Unity Star was the highest honor a cadet could receive. It was rarely given. The last time someone received it was 10 years ago. "Cadet Morrison, please stand," Commandant Zora said. Jake stood slowly. His legs felt weak. Every eye in the room was on him. The Commandant walked over to his table. She held a small box. Inside was a medal. It was made of some kind of crystal that caught the light and split it into colors, a star shape with 6 points. "This honor is not just for what you did 6 months ago," Commandant Zora said. "It is for what you have done every day since. You have worked harder than anyone. You have maintained excellence under extreme pressure. You have shown that true leadership is not about being the strongest or the most powerful. It is about bringing out the best in everyone around you." She pinned the medal to Jake's uniform. "Congratulations, Cadet Morrison. You have earned this." "Thank you, ma'am," Jake managed to say. His voice felt distant to his own ears. "But I could not have done any of this alone. My team, my friends, they made this possible. Leadership is recognizing that," the Commandant said with a small smile. "Well done." After the Commandant left, Jake sat back down. His hands were shaking. Lisa hugged him. Crix patted him on the back with one massive limb. Sella performed a formal salute. All around the cafeteria, cadets were talking excitedly, but not everyone was happy. Jake could see some cadets who looked angry or jealous. Some Krallians were upset that a human had received such a high honor. Some cadets from other species thought Jake had only gotten the award because of politics, because the Academy wanted to make humans look good. Jake understood. He could not please everyone. Some people would always doubt him. Some would always think he did not deserve his achievements. That was okay. He did not need everyone to believe in him. He just needed to believe in himself. That night, Jake could not sleep. He stood by the window in his quarters looking out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere. His home, his family, everything he had left behind to come here. He touched the metal on his uniform. It felt heavy, not because of its weight, but because of what it represented: responsibility, expectations, the hopes of every human who dreamed of serving in the Unity military. His communication device beeped. A message from Earth. Jake opened it. It was from his father. The message was simple. "We saw the news. Your mother and I are so proud. But remember, medals and honors are just medal and ceremony. What matters is who you are inside. Stay true to yourself. Stay humble. Stay kind. Love, Dad." Jake smiled. His father always knew what to say. The message was a good reminder. The medal did not change who he was. The attention did not change his responsibilities. He was still just a cadet trying to do his best. But he was also part of something bigger now. A change in how species saw each other. A movement toward real unity, not just political alliance. That was worth fighting for. That was worth the pressure and the scrutiny. The next morning, training resumed as normal. But there was one change. Commander Tal announced that Jake would help teach a new class: cross-species tactical cooperation. The class would focus on how different species could work together effectively, how to use everyone's unique abilities, how to overcome differences and build strong teams. Jake was nervous about teaching. He was still a cadet himself. But Commander Tal assured him, "You have practical experience. You have proven the concepts work. That makes you qualified." The first class was strange. Jake stood in front of 30 cadets from a dozen different species. Some were bigger than him. Some were older. Some had more experience. But they were all there to learn from him. "My name is Cadet Morrison," Jake began. "I am not here because I am the best fighter. I am not the strongest or the fastest. I am here because I have learned something important. Every species has value. Every individual has something to contribute. Our job is to figure out how to bring those contributions together." He talked about his team, about how Crix's strength, Sayla's senses, Lisa's medical knowledge, and his own tactical thinking all worked together. He used their successful exercises as examples. He showed how respecting differences made teams stronger. One Krallian cadet raised a hand. "But what about when differences cause conflict? What about when species do not trust each other?" "That is the hardest part," Jake admitted. "Trust is not automatic. It has to be earned. But it starts with respect. It starts with seeing others as equals, even when they are different, even when they seem weaker or stranger." He thought about General Vexthor, about how the general's lack of respect had led to so much harm, about how different things might have been if the general had valued all cadets equally. "I will not lie to you," Jake continued. "Building that trust is difficult. It takes time. It takes patience. There will be misunderstandings. There will be conflicts. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is isolation. And in this galaxy with so many threats and challenges, no species can survive alone." The class went well. Cadets asked good questions. They shared their own experiences. They discussed real problems and real solutions. By the end, Jake felt like he had actually helped them understand something important. As the weeks continued, Jake's life found a new rhythm. He trained. He studied, he taught.
He spent time with his friends.
The pressure was still there. The watching eyes were still there. But he had learned to accept it. This was his life now. This was his purpose. One day, Jake received another message. This one was from General Vexthor.